taken out the whole business district issue is to avoid the discussion about whether or not the government is going to tell these business owners how to run their business or what to call their district. We'll have a process for that. That can come later, and ultimately some kind of decision can be made. But that one is just taken out. But the way this agreement was done is a compromise among people with different interests. Sometimes people who disagreed with each other severely in the past. So it is a compromise, but everybody has agreed this is a great way to move forward. And so I'm urging my colleagues on the council to move forward as this is outlined. And if there are other issues and other problems, we can deal with those either separately or later or whatever. But it is clearly the intent of all the people who signed on to the agreement, and it is the intent of the people who signed on to the memorandum, 4 council members, that we're trying to get a permanent sign. The temporary sign is a means to an end. And it may be that we don't even do a temporary sign, but the process can be quick enough for a permanent sign that the temporary sign is not necessary. But we also don't want to tell people, well, you might have to wait for a year for a permanent sign, or you might have to wait a long time. So it's just a way to allow people to understand we are committed to moving ahead, and this is a method that people have agreed is a good way to go, and that's why I'm urging my colleagues to support this. Go ahead and put this on the council agenda for the 25th. Make the motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Let me make the motion. There's a second. I have one more question. Clarification question from Frank.
Motion is to approve and move it ahead to the council agenda on the 25th.
Joe, my recollection is from the old Telluride application that the application process itself asks for the applicant to identify the geographic area that they're intending to identify with the community identification sign. So I brought up the issue of how do we know what geographic area the sign pertains to? That will be part of the typical application
That's part of the process, and when we do outreach, we go into our outreach based on the boundaries of that area. So the application could stretch from, I think it was 101 Center Road was mentioned. If the group raised the funds to go through and build multiple temporary signs or multiple permanent signs, really there is not a limitation other than what we process through that.
The application could hypothetically bookend with a gateway sign on each end of that geographic area that's being requested. So there's nothing prohibiting that identification. Now, you wouldn't allow 2 different community identification signs in the same. I'm not talking about 2 with the same name. I'm talking about 2 with different community identification on it.
Well, that's part of why the policy says that gateway and community identification signs need to reflect the identity of the area and not create a fractious relationship or create division. So that where there is not clarity about what an area should be called, the policy is that we shouldn't be naming it. And I think the mayor's comments about are important, that the community can be already calling us Little Saigon. That doesn't take government to do that. And it's really just making sure that there is general agreement on that. And I think we've heard that through the meetings thus far.
Thank you for clarifying those questions.
I would just like to acknowledge for the record that we have received comment cards that people have submitted as well as part of the record. Mr. Get some more that have come in. Anything else from the committee? The motion is to approve and move it ahead to the 25th council meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None opposed. That carries unanimously. Okay, that completes that item on the Little Saigon Community Identification Sign. We'll now turn to the next item, which is discussion of allegations regarding the business owner petition submitted to the council on March 4, 2008, also known as the 92 signature petition. And I would just like to note that we have a memorandum from the city clerk listing 7 different documents that we received that are part of this discussion. We have a memorandum from Councilor Chu dated March 7th to the Rules Committee, memorandum to the Rules Committee from Councilor Ricardo dated March 11th, 2008. A letter from Councilor Chu to Police Chief Davis dated March 7th, 2008. 2 memoranda from BAC NorCal and San Jose Voters for Democracy to the Mayor and City Council dated March 10th, 2008. A letter from James Chadwick to the Mayor and City Council dated March 10th, 2008. Letters with 3 attachments from Henry Hon Lee to the councilors dated March 12th, 2008. and a letter from Dan Fan, Century Gift Gate to Mayor and City Council dated March 10, 2008. And I think that's all we have, unless something has come in since then that's relevant to this. We did discuss this briefly last week so that we could move it forward to this week's agenda. And I know that the city attorney has had an opportunity for some initial investigation in this matter, so I at least want to give the city attorney a chance to speak to it before we start discussing what to do next.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the committee. What we've done is we've taken a look at the documentation and had some initial discussions and investigation of the item. The first thing is in looking at these 7 documents attached to the clerk's memo, I want to focus on item number 6, which are the 3 attachments from Henry Lee, specifically Exhibit A and Exhibit B. What we have found, and I think this is confirmed in Mr. Lee's letter as well, and this is based both on the letter, written evidence, and oral interviews, is that Exhibit A is what Mr. Lee presented, has 6 signatures in addition to his own. So 7 signatures total, and it asks, it's dated March 1st, 2008, it asks the council to essentially not name the applicant author. Exhibit B is really the issue of controversy. This is the cover memo, which is page 1, asking for the council not name the area, and then the next page, petition, and then 92 signatures. The reason that's in controversy is because it is apparent to us that, based on both conversations with Mr. Lee and his letter, and what we determined is that petition was not what it was either represented to be or understood to be at the council meeting, and that we have had a number of people come forward, about at least a dozen, so they never signed this petition. What it appears is that at least 91 of those people signed the petition, but they may have signed this as early as May of 2007, and not this year. And it had to do with the naming of the Vietnamese business district as a retail area, the Vietnamese retail area, not specifically not to name something or any specific name. I think beyond that, so I think we have the facts that the basis, or I don't know if it was the basis, but it was something that Councilmember Ricardo relied on in his motion, that it's not what it appears to be, and we confirm that. I think the issue with the committee is, do we want to go beyond that? It required a tremendous amount of work to interview individuals. I can tell you right now that there really aren't criminal penalties that we're aware of for this type of action. If our municipal code has restrictions on lobbyists and what they can, and if they do commit misrepresentations, it's something that could be administrative fines. Mr. Lee is not a lobbyist. We don't know if any of these other individuals involved are, or who might be involved, would be. And I don't know if it changes the result in terms of just the knowledge that it doesn't appear to be accurate. I want to caution, too, it's something that Councilmember Ricardo, in his memo, and that's earlier in your packet, on the second page, says, ask for us to look into it, investigate within the constraints of the First Amendment. And that is something that I think you need to be cautious about. I think we can say that this isn't what it appeared to be. But when you start going beyond that and start getting into investigating what speakers are making accurate or inaccurate assumptions, and creating any kind of precedent, this is one issue. We have a lot of issues that come to council. We had 3 fairly lengthy discussions last night on issues. People make representations all the time. If you get in a position where the government, you're asking the government to go investigate the motives of people that are petitioning the government or coming and testifying, it could be a slippery slope. And I think the question is how far do you want to go with this? I can tell you that we're not aware of any criminal penalties attached to it, which would be a different story. I mean, clearly there were criminal laws involved. would be a different issue. But you're not aware of any, and I think at this point, we could come back